good evening, and welcome to this special Island Stat Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Basden, and joining me is NACAC President, Mr. Mike Sands. Mr. Sands, obviously you have some big news for the region and especially our young athletes. So let you make the announcement as you had a press conference earlier today, advising what this big news is.
Well, thanks, and thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be with you and to be able to share information on NACAC athletics. And as you very well know, the Carifta Games, in our opinion, is the preeminent junior track and field championships anywhere to be had in the world. And as compared to World Junior Championships, we refer to it as, right? In that regard, you know, it's a yearly event that takes place in a different member federation, jurisdiction, or country, if you will. At the Congress last year, 2 member federations had indicated their intent to host the games, and they were given a deadline to submit their letter of intent with the support of their government. Obviously, for whatever reason or reasons, that did not happen in a timely manner, despite several extensions. And so we were left without a host, running against the clock. And, you know, what was happening then was that also the CARICOM heads of government, as I like to say, timing is everything. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. And so the both member federations indicated days before the heads of government meeting that they would not be able to host the event. And so given the position that we found ourselves in, we had to reach out to some leadership within CARICOM and express to them the need for more CARICOM support and the urgency for them to help us can come to the rescue with our Carifta Games. Because at the end of the day, the Carifta Games means so much to our young people. I mean, it does more. It's more than just entertainment and a platform for them to present and to display their talent. And so our position was taken up in the heads of government meeting between July 5th to the 8th. And I am so pleased to say that not only did we have a member federation of CARICOM step forward and say that they would host the 2027 Carifta Games, but another CARICOM head said that they would host the 2028 Carifta Games. So I think, you know, in recent history, this is perhaps, you know, the best news that has happened to us. And so the president of Guyana, and we thank him very much for stepping forward and indicating that Guyana will host the 2027 Carifta Games, and Prime Minister Mia Mottley, out of the CARICOM and out of the CARICOM communique, indicated that Barbados would take up the 2028 Carifta Games. And, you know, this speaks volumes to them stepping forward so quickly and so positively, because, you know, I put the case forward that we have to look at sport not as a cost, but as an investment to our young people. And so many athletes, so many of our area athletes, our young athletes, look forward to Carifta Games as a platform to the world stage, and more importantly, to secure tertiary education, right, to help them become, you know, more productive citizens later on in life. So the big news is that we can relax for a little while, relax only because we've identified or we've been able to secure 2 members for the Carifta Games, Guyana in 2027 and Barbados in 2028.
No, that is some encouraging news as you've identified 2 years out. Is that something we want to kind of get into years out of knowing where the next Carifta is going to be instead of yearly?
Well, I would like to think so. I mean, because most sport, their champion event, their championship event, their premier event, you know sometimes years in advance where it's going to be. And so it lends itself to much, much more better forward planning. We know where the 32 Olympics is going to be. We have the 28 Olympics, the 32 Olympics is going to be. We know where the next Commonwealth Games are going to be. We know where those things are going to be. But because we are small regional federation that rely on our members, which is also even smaller, right? And then they have to rely on their governments, right, to support the event. the fact that we were able to get our issue on the table on the agenda of CARICOM, and the fact that the CARICOM heads of government have stepped in and taken on the I wouldn't say responsibility, but certainly taking on the support base of allowing their member federations through those governments to bid for the games and secure the games through the government support, which is critical. And so I am satisfied that the other members of CARICOM, because they were all there. So it wasn't an isolated situation. I mean, the communique came out before I had a chance to get a full response from it. And so when it came out in the CARICOM communique, I mean, that's official. And so it is a sense, it is, everyone now is sensitized to the fact, not that they weren't before, but I think they didn't really understand or appreciate that the significance, and then the fact that Carifta was facing some serious hardships. I think it really was a wake-up call for them to understand that, hey, yes, we need to step in and we need to provide the support that we as governments can do, should do, and will do. And so I'm satisfied that very, very soon we'll now hear about the next two editions, which will, again, call for good forward planning on behalf of the host federations.
Yeah. And it bodes well because you've got the head of states making the decision, not being proposed a decision by the sports minister or federation. It's more of they get to make a decision right there and then, and it actually is the turning point, I think, for the sport.
Well, like you said, it's a turning point. It is a huge turning point, because what happens is year to year we sit in the Carifta Congress. Like, for example, this year when we started Carifta in April, on April the 6th at the Congress, then on the agenda is host for 2027, and that's only a year out. So even by good planning, that's still only a year out. And so we would expected those who had an interest to come to the table, to come to the Congress, present their bid, and present their letter of guarantee from their governments. But so it was normally the other way around. So they would come expressing their interest, but they would not have had the government support and guarantee. So they now have to go back, like the two member federations, and I know the federations meant well, but they had to get the government support, and they had 14 days to get the government support. It would have been ideal to do it before you come, but understanding that at the end of the day, if you express your interest, okay, go back, get your government support, present it to us, and then we will discuss it. This way, the government, which is the better way to do it, actually, the government said it, and I don't even know, I'm almost certain I can tell you that the member federations would not have been aware of this, because it was almost like a thrown on a lifeline, if you will, to have the issue placed on the table, because the timing was right. The timing was right, that they all were meeting in one place, and we took the initiative to approach for representation of this event. And so all the prime ministers of CARICOM, the presidents of CARICOM, discussed whatever they discussed. I don't know what they discussed. All I know is the conclusion. Mm-hmm. You don't know how cabinet discuss things. You see the conclusion, right? So as far as we're concerned, the conclusion, very simple, and it's in the communique. President Ali has offered to take on 2027, and Prime Minister Motley has offered to take on 2028. That's the conclusion.
Now, am I correct in reading Prime Minister Motley wanted both at one point?
Well, I'm not sure, but I can tell you that, and that is possible. I know they're getting ready. They're building a very new stadium, and I think the more people understand the value of sport, I think the more our leaders, because there are those of us who are in the sport, we are very passionate about it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, I think we expect more from people because they don't feel the passion that we do. But, I think we're getting to the point where we're making them understand that sport is everything. Sport is everything, to the extent to which that is in every facet of life. And so I will continue to say, let us invest and make it an investment, not a cost. And the return on the investment is going to be far-reaching because it builds nations. There's so many things that's positive about sport but I'll tell you this much, right? There's some of the leaders are prepared to certainly take it on for long periods of time. And so at the end of the day, this particular session of the meetings of heads was a very, very, as you said earlier, turning point for our sport. But let me hasten to add, the plea was not just for the saving of Carifta. While that was our immediate concern, my concern was not just being selfish for Carifta alone, but for the wider base of sport, and to sensitize the leadership of CARICOM that sport goes a very, very long way. And you will always hear me quote Nelson Mandela's famous lines about the power of sport.
Well said. Well said. I know the last Carifta games, it was improved on media rights or the coverage of the event. Can we see that on a regular basis being increased upon?
Well, that will be, you will see that increase exponentially, for sure. The last Carifta games, it was what you saw was almost like a last minute decision by ourselves, because we had come to an agreement with a media company for them to manage the media, et cetera, for us. Weeks prior to the event, they were not meeting the obligation, so we literally had to break the agreement, right, and take it on ourselves. And I think we did a yeoman's job in managing the rights, the broadcast rights. I mean, the young man in Grenada, I think it's TNR, Richie Oliveira, did an amazing job on getting the feed out to persons that needed it. We had like probably 1 million views between the United States and Europe. I'm still waiting for the Caribbean numbers, but we had like in excess of 1 million views. I think it's the widest broadcast Carifta ever. And you, with more time, for example, right now we know that it's going to be in Grenada, so our marketing and our communications people can start that process very early. And you would know that I reached out to all our member federations, and I accept and acknowledge that the time is very, very short. Yeah. And so therefore it was difficult for members to come on board. But I'm satisfied that we're saying it now. So we want you all to plan. We want everyone to plan, because in short order, once we line those ducks up, we will be coming to all of the media houses within our family, and then some, because Europe is not a part of our family, but they had the widest viewership. United States, we've got a 2-year deal agreement with Flow Sports to carry it, and so next year we'll be into our 2nd year, and so we're moving the organization forward in a very, very progressive manner.
All right. Okay. Well, Mr. Sands, we're going to stay in contact, because I know every once in a while you have a trick up your sleeve, and just trying to improve the region in sport. How is NACAC doing?
Well, like the great thing is we have our bumps and grinds, and we had some little resets, some administrative changes, but there's some other initiatives. You call it tricks up my sleeve. I think what it is really is thinking outside the box, because you cannot continue to rely. If you do the same thing over and over again, you'll get the same results. And so you have to be innovative. And so the only tricks I have up my sleeve is thinking. I wake up, I eat and I sleep and I dream this business, and not so much for me, but for the benefit and the improvement of the young people that are the future of our nations, that we want to give them hope, we want to give them a vision, and we want to keep them motivated and incentivized to do things very, very positive. Because young athletes are healthy people, and the health of a nation is the wealth of a nation. And so when you take it to that extent, this is why I say to the governments, invest in the young people, invest in sport, and trust me, you will have a healthier society, and you'll have less negativity in the society, because the young people will be focused on positive things that will enhance their lives and help us build the nations that we're trying to build individually and collectively.
Yeah. Lastly, we have the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony was this evening, and we have the CAC Games opening ceremony tomorrow. Athletes torn, or what's your thoughts on it?
Well, the only challenge we have right now, we always wanted a lot of events, but like I said, I was in South America last couple of weeks ago, And the challenge we have right now, I mean, all of this is good for our sport, all this is good for the young people, all this is good for the nations and the branding. But we have to do a better job collectively, globally, universally with scheduling of events, because at the end of the day, they're overlapping. And I'm an example, even though I'm only an administrator. I am sitting here in the Bahamas now because for me to try to get the CAC is happening as we speak, opening ceremonies, World Youth Championship. And so the scheduling had to be done better so we can get maximum participation, both athletic side and also on the fan base side, because when you have a small pool to draw from, you cause people to be torn between what events they're going to choose, and you don't get the best of everything that is possible if you have the collaboration among ourselves. And those are some of the things that I'm also trying to get us to understand as international and regional federations, that we need to work more collaboratively together.
All right, Mr. Sands, thank you very much. You enjoy the rest of the evening, and thanks for the good news of Carifta 2027 and 2028 has been secured.
Thank you, as always, thank you. And give my regards to all my friends in Bermuda.
Will do.
Thank you.